Joe Girardi, he was here with the Yankees for how many years? 11, 12 years? He won one World Series because the Yankees that year spent $600 million on CC Sabathia, A.J. Burnett, who you know a lot about, and obviously Mark Teixeira. And then Alex Rodriguez had that unbelievable run in 2009. If that didn't happen, Joe Girardi never wins a championship. So to sit here and say Aaron Boone this and Aaron Boone has to prove that he can win in the playoffs. That's something that he didn't do. But you could also say that it was the Houston Astros that screwed him on that one. But nevertheless, Aaron Boone has been successful as a manager. And if Aaron Boone were to get fired tomorrow by the Yankees, I would say there will be about 15, 16 teams that'll be lining up to bring him in.
Well, who are we kidding? Boone and Girardi, neither of them are like a Tony La Russa.
No, not at all.
None of them are Tony La Russa where they're going to walk a guy with a 1 and 2 count? Yeah, that sounds about right.
I mean, you mentioned Tony La Russa. What is Tony La Russa doing right now with Chicago?
Walking guys with intentionally walking Trey Turner with a 1 and 2 counts.
I mean,
can't even walk in a straight line if he's trying to intentionally walk someone.
What does a manager do in baseball, anyways? And what does he really do? If you know how to run your bullpen and you know how to take your starting rotation out at the right time, you're doing a good job because your hitters are going to hit and they're not going to hit. They're going to get into slumps. They're not going to get into slumps. You can't tell the hitter how to move, how to swing the bat. They've been doing it their whole lives. What makes a manager, what you pay a manager to do is make sure you don't kill your arms in your bullpen, make sure they stay fresh, and make sure your rotation is healthy enough to get through the season and eventually get healthy through the playoffs. So if you're doing that, you're a good manager. I mean, what makes Tony La Russa so good? Because he's been in the league for such a long time, and he had guys like Dennis Eckersley. He had one of the best pitching coaches in baseball history over there with the Cardinals. I mean, he's always had like Wainwright and all these different guys. Chris Carpenter. He's always had good pitchers on his staff. Wherever he went, he's had good pitchers. So Tony La Russa, the guy that I think is a very good manager is the guy with Cleveland who is probably going to retire this year. And I'm talking about Frank Conant. I think he's a very good manager. He was very successful with the Boston Red Sox. I think he's done wonders for Cleveland.
Pitching factory over there.
Yeah, and by the way, the Yankees took their pitching guru in their farm system, and now he's running the Yankees pitching rotation. What does that tell you?
And the Mets took their pitching coach, and then he just did inappropriate things.
Yeah, what does that tell you about the Cleveland and what everybody thinks about Cleveland's rotation and stuff like that? They obviously know what they're doing. So I think Tony La Russa is I've always thought Tony La Russa was highly overrated.
Yeah, I sort of said that jokingly.
No, I know. I know, but it's so funny when I ask everybody, who do you think is the best managers in baseball? And everybody says Tony La Russa, and I say, okay,
really?
Yeah. Absolutely. All the time. Top 5.
I haven't even thought about it. I don't even know who I would say the best manager in baseball is.
Who do you think, if you were to take your top 5 managers right now in order, who do you think is the top 5 right now, today? Who is the top 5 managers in baseball?
I don't even know. Like this, I'm totally unqualified. I'll answer you, but I'm totally unqualified to answer this. It'd be me like just like
it's fine
pulling things out of my ass on your show.
It's fine.
Which I don't know. You're talking. I don't know. You might want me to.
Go ahead, man. I don't care.
Let's go, Gabe Kapler.
Okay.
Like I don't know. Like
everybody was running out of Philadelphia.
That would be me. Yep.
Everybody was running him out of Philadelphia, and then he finally doesn't. He finally reads
his something right with the pitching and the hitting. Like I don't know, behind every good manager, there's a good staff and there's a good team philosophy. So I don't think these managers are just doing it all themselves. I think it's mostly not them and mostly other stuff.
Just don't trust anything with the Phillies.
There's something there in San Fran that they're doing right. I don't know, he's there sitting on a bench, but there's something they're doing right there. So I'll put him out there as one of the guys that I think is probably doing something right.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good.
Even though their pitching is not as good as it was last year, they turned a lot of players like very good. They turned a lot of players into good pitchers that weren't
failed prospects elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to think who else is doing a good job.
I would say
Twins.
I would say
Baldelli.
Yeah, Baldelli. Twins.
Baldelli seems like he's doing a good job.
Showalter.
There's a lot of underrated guys there. Luis Arias is being like, as much as like people don't, he's not like a really sexy name for fantasy, but he's a really good. He's been really good this year, and
doesn't he lead the American League in slugging percentage or something like that?
I don't know.
I saw some weird stat where he was up there in something.
Average, probably average.
Average, okay.
Yeah, he's probably leading. He might be leading the majors in average right now. He's like he's basically doing what Tony Gwynn was doing back then, and that's even if he's almost doing that, it's impressive these days.
We are talking to draft champion host and fantasy baseball analyst, Rotodoctor Zack. You say you're a Toronto fan. You're from that area. What has stood out to you so far early this season as far we talk about the Mets. Obviously, their rotation. Everybody thought we were going to see Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer, two dominant pitchers. They have not stayed healthy this year. Houston, 36-21. They've had a very good season. What stood out to you so far early this season?
Maybe in terms of like what teams like been sort of overachieving.
Yeah.
Besides the Yankees.
Yeah.
Maybe the Twins. Like Twins, like they were selling off last year, and they sold off like all their bullpen pieces. And I was talking to someone like on my show earlier this year, and I said like Taylor Rogers would be a great bet to be like a good closer because they're going to be, I think, a good team and ready to contend right again. And they don't really have anyone besides him, but it turned out to be like completely wrong because A, he got traded, and B, they have a great young pitcher in Yoan Duran that just came up, and they've sort of turned themselves around, and that offense is fantastic. And like they were like basically a seller, and now they're are they leading the division now?
Yeah,
yeah. So they look like they're not going to let up either. Like that offense, as long as they stay healthy, they got Buxton, who might be the best player in the game. Like
really?
When he's playing. And I know he has a lengthy injury history.
Yeah.
They also got a guy named Royce Lewis that's that no one expected to stick up in the major leagues. They did send him down as soon as Correa came back, but he was back up. They found a reason to bring him back up again. He's hurt now, but he could be back soon. So, and he was one of the few rookies. If you look at like Adele and Kalenic and all these other rookies that have struggled, even teammates like Miranda, that actually was running right out of the gate and hitting balls 114 miles an hour. Hitting over 300, not striking out. So that they're going to find a place for him. I believe they should. So I think that could be a scary team.
Buxton, you'll watch. I mean, obviously he's a center fielder. He'll be traded before you know it, so he won't be there much longer.
What are you talking about? He just signed like $100 million contract.
Exactly. They sign him and then they trade him. They do this all the time. The Twins do it all the time, man. How many times have you seen them keep players besides Mauer? They never keep their players. They trade them away. They give them a contract, and they say, you know what? After 2 years, we'll get rid of them. We'll bring in.
Who was the last one they did that to?
Who do I mean, I'm trying to go
I think
back.
Justin Morneau.
Was it Morneau?
Yeah, I think they traded him in season, I thought, to Colorado.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I want to say 13.
I would
14,
have to look.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
but
they did Johan Santana to the Mets.
They always do it. They give these guys, they build these guys up, they give them extensions, and then they trade them.
Yeah, I think it was because Kanayer was a free agent.
Who's the kid that they traded to Toronto recently? The pitcher Barrios was another guy. I mean
the Jays signed him the contract.
They traded him at the trade deadline, but the Jays gave him a new contract.
Yeah, but they traded him, and he was a young, talented arm that they had in their rotation. Who they drafted? This is what they do. They have players and they just trade them away. They say, "Oh, he's good. Okay, I'll trade you him, and I'll take two of your best farmhands," and they turn out to be nothing. And then they go back on. But I will say this about the Twins. Over the last couple of years, even when they trade away pieces, they still find a way to win. But they're also in the worst division in baseball. So
they're just one streaky year to year. They're never like terrible, except for the what was it, 2018 or 2019? One of those years they were terrible right after they fired Molitor. But beyond that, they're always at least competitive.
I think they're going to trade Buxton. I do. Not right now, but I'd say like a year from now. They're trying to rebuild again, and they'll just say, you know what, Well, put him on the trade market. We'll see what we can get for him. He's worth it. I mean, they only gave him $100 million for a player like that.
I wanted the Mets to trade for him last year.
That's a penny. That's a penny to them. So the Mets? Are you kidding me? Uncle Stevie.
At the time last year, remember everyone wanted them to trade for Donaldson from the Twins, and I'm like, no, I wanted Taylor Rogers and I wanted Byron Buxton because I knew.
I mean, everybody wants. He's a center fielder that has power. I mean, he has 15 home runs already. So, how many
There's
center?
A lot of incentives in that contract.
Oh,
so absolutely. It's $100 million, but like if he gets like certain MVP votes, that contract could go up a lot.
Absolutely, he's amongst the best power hitters in baseball right now. He is 28 years old, so he's getting up there in age as far as baseball years. So. We'll see. We'll see what happens. As everybody knows, we are talking to draft champion, host, and fantasy baseball analyst, Rotodoctor Zack.
All right, I want to go back to what you quote tweeted earlier in the afternoon. So, you will be revealing many secrets on how the Mets keep their pitchers so healthy.
Interesting.
That is a very interesting statement. As a Mets fan, I'm optimistic, but also could believe you're joking. So, what is your thinking on why they've done better with that this year?
So good. They've kept DeGrom super healthy. Taylor McGill, and they're like, it's great. I love what they're doing with McGill. When he says like my body feels good, they just listen to the player's body, like pretty basically like they're saving money on their medical staff because they just listen to the players and the players can just tell them when they're healthy. Like DeGrom, he's like, I'm just going to pitch now. Like last year, he's like, yeah, no, you know what? I think I'm just going to pitch. And then they let him pitch, and then he got hurt. And then Scherzer, of course, his neck was hanging on by a thread, winning the World Series like a couple of years ago, and then they thought it was a good idea to sign him for like $40 million a year.
I already said
I'd rather have that than 5 years and get $30 million.
I want to tell you something, man, Zach. I've been saying this since the day we found out that the Mets gave him the biggest contract in Major League history, $43
million on 3 years.
$43 million a year. I said that this guy, we had so many guys. We had a Washington writer on the show. What's her name again?
Oh, Britt Girardi.
Who knows him very, very well. We have Charlie Slows, who's a good friend of the show. His son does a show on a network, and he's a good friend of the show. He told me Max never gets hurt. And what happens? You know what? 30 games into the season, he gets hurt and he's out for 6 to 8 weeks. So I can't stand listening to people, especially Met fans, tell me that. And I don't have anything against the Mets as a Yankee fan. I really don't. For Met fans to think here and sit here and tell me that was a good contract, that was a horrible contract. And if Max Scherzer does not win a World Series with this team in the next year or two, what a wasted time and a wasted bunch of money that Uncle Stevie's throwing to him. So that's my opinion. So I don't know.
I agree.